Hey, Nick. Excited for the new show and to hear some new Pistons takes. This doesn't seem to be a popular opinion, but I'm starting to wonder. The Pistons have not won more than 25 games with Troy Weaver as their general manager. Does another 20-win season put him on the hot seat? How many years is a restoration meant to take? That last question is a perfect question, and we're going to get to that in just a second. I have to be that guy. The Pistons have not won more than 25 games with Troy Weaver as their GM. They have not won 25 games with Troy Weaver as their GM. They've only ever won 23. That's their most, right? So how long does a restoration take? How many owners and GMs have come out over the last, couple dozen years and talked about like how terrifying it can be to undergo that quote unquote traditional rebuild? Because it can take like 10 plus years. You hire one wrong guy, it'll set you back like 2 to 3 years. That's like Mark Cuban was on the Pat Bev podcast a month ago, I don't know how long ago it was, talking about the hardest thing about my job is having to hire a head coach. It's like the scariest thing because you're putting so much responsibility, so much control in their hands. We talk about the Lions, we talk about Dan Campbell and how good of a job he's done. It's hard to understand if you haven't been a Lions fan and haven't physically been there to really understand it. Like when we talk about him pulling us from the fucking depths, like he's doing it. Like that's what he's doing. And we really hit rock bottom. We really got there because we hired one wrong guy, Matt Patricia, right? And you can argue, we can do the whole, well, Bob Quinn, blah, 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 bullshit. I'm not here to talk about that. Fucking Matt Patricia, right? That's ultimately why we had the picture of Martha sitting up there with her hands in her head in her hands on fucking Thanksgiving, fired their asses like the next day because she was embarrassed, right? And that's why Martha is like, like, holy smokes. I digress. Anyways, undergoing that rebuild is hard. And luckily, it doesn't really seem like the Pistons have hired the wrong guy. Like Tom Gores, when he finally bit that bullet and was like, we need to do this the right way, I believe that he hired the right guy. I think most people still do. I know the vocal majority out there, vocal minority, however I would need to phrase this to make it make sense for my point. Like, if you just read what's on the internet, people really don't like Troy Weaver. But I find that if you just talk to normal people, they're like, yeah, I mean, this shit sucks, but it takes time. Because what do we know about him? He drafts really, really well. Like Sadiq Bey, yeah, maybe it didn't work here. That's an NBA player, dude. That's an NBA player. Isaiah Stewart, he just got paid. That's an NBA player. Whether he's a 4, whether he's a 5, like, that's an NBA player for sure. Killian Hayes, Cade Cunningham. Like, we're talking about a guy who, if he played that full season, like, he was Rookie of the Year. Like, there's a real chance he was Rookie of the Year that, I don't know, man. I don't know if he would. Like, it was, but he was so good. And, if he didn't have that injury, like, if he doesn't lose an entire season last year, like, who knows where he is right now? And he looks really good right now. We'd like to see a little bit more ball security, but, stop just, like, throwing shit around, kid. Be a little bit more selfish sometimes. Jaden Ivey, like, yeah, he's in, like, prison right now, like, proverbial prison. We all like where that's going. For all intents and purposes, dude, like, Jalen Duren, like, is a world eater. You know what I mean? Asar Thompson, when you talk about guys who were, was it Draymond that had the quote that he was like, dude, him and his brother were, like, built, like, chiseled to play in the NBA. Like, literally, though. Like, these two dudes were, like, they were born for this shit, him and his brother. They look amazing. And they're, like, 12. And Jalen Duren is actually 19. Like, actually, no Jason Tatum meme is actually only 19. And it's insane. And, like, I didn't love, by the way, this has nothing to do with anything, watching Drew Eubanks put hands on Jalen Duren and, like, kind of work his shit in the post. Drew Eubanks has come a long way from his San Antonio days of, like, catching the ball 13 feet from the basket with, like, 16 on the clock and being like, I don't have shit else going on, and just, like, putting it up, and it would rim out every single time. He's come a long way from that because now he's, like, punking Jalen Duren. I like, turned the game off. I was sick to my stomach. I was on my hands and knees crying. What the fuck is that? How much longer is it going to take? Does a 20-win season, like, is that a nail in the coffin? It wouldn't be a good look. It doesn't get him fired. if they win 25 games. Like, even if they set a new record and win 25 games, like, it's still not a great look. But there's going to be context to that, though. The only reason this team wins 25 games is if, like, multiple people are like, if we have, like, a Monte Morris, Bogdanovic, and one other injury consistently throughout, like, to that extent, the whole season, like, yeah, the team's not going to win a lot of games. But like any team, right? If they're healthy, they'll win games. So, like, what am I really saying? You're right. No, 25 wins, I think people would justifiably be like, what the fuck? Like, something's got to... Because we also keep getting told every summer, it's next summer that we're going to spend money. Whether people want to fucking admit this or not, we have been told this, like, routinely, at least twice, that next summer is when we're going to spend money. And then next summer comes around and they're like, man, it's just free agency class. It's just actually not, the market's not that interesting. It's just about trades now anyways. It's not really about getting free agents because people just sign these deals and they don't let themselves get to free agency. We're going to be fine. Okay. We're going to be fine. The Pistons are going to be fine. We're on the right track. I'm getting upset. This is how back I am, is I'm getting, like, real life emotional and real life upset because I'm tired of this team fucking stinking. We stink.
Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful.